So we're back at St Mary's on Saturday for the visit of Stoke to help us preview the game. Let's welcome Stoke City fan Robin Evans. Cheers, Robin. Thanks for waiting. Thank you for coming on.
No problem at all.
How's things? Following Stoke home and away, is that right?
Yeah.
You must be quite happy with the start to the season.
Well, it's been unreal, to be fair. I think yesterday was actually our first time we've won the opening away game of a season in 18 years. So, I know it was against the poor Sheffield Wednesday side, but it's something still got to be enjoyed, I think. We're very used to at the moment looking down the league to try and find where we are. So, even 2 games in to be sat top, it's very refreshing, I must say.
And Mark Robbins says there's still room for improvement. So what have you made of those 2 performances? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks all right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's probably safe to say we've played 2 poor sides. I think Derby might have been missing a few players on the opening day, but they weren't too impressive. But obviously, you've still got to put these teams away, which is also a very un-Stoke thing to do. Just looking back to last year when we went to Hillsborough, we played against 10 men for nearly an hour and lost 2-0. So, I'll never take anything for granted too much. But yeah, even yesterday, just little bits of time. We were in control of the game, and all of a sudden it got away from us a little bit. It's probably in the centre midfield, probably the area of biggest concern, I think. But obviously the window's still 2 weeks to go, so whether we'll still look to do business there, I'm sure.
Do you think there might be a few coming in, or maybe a couple going?
There's rumours of bringing in somebody from the Czech league. That looks like it might. That's a central midfielder. I don't know anything about him, so I won't waffle on about that. But that's due to be finalised this week. Whether he'd play next week, I don't know. But for a change, it looks like at the moment we've got a pretty settled squad, which is a rare thing for us. And obviously, we were unchanged yesterday from the first game, which is also quite rare given the last couple of years where there's been a lot of chopping and changing, lots of different managers as well. So it actually feels quite positive around the club for the first time in a while. And
how's life under Mark Robbins? Enjoying the football?
Yeah, no, very good. I think as soon as he was appointed in January, when we were in a world of trouble, it was like this is a really good appointment as manager. Obviously, we appointed Narcis Palash in September last year from Norwich, his coaching team, and it was just one of them. It's like, this just isn't going to work. So to actually have a manager who has done a good job at this level is very pleasing, I must say. Everything he does just gives you confidence. Even when we win, he'll stay down to earth. He won't get carried away. Kind of like as you know from the past as well, like Nathan Jones when he was for us, you'd win a game and all of a sudden you're the best team in the world, and then it comes crashing down again. But he's just very calm, level-headed, and that's kind of what you want. You don't want to get too carried away either way, whether you win or lose.
That's the second week I think Nathan Jones has got a mention on the podcast.
Yeah,
Glenn, it's going to be it will be a slightly tougher game for them, but I think it will also be a tougher game for us, and perhaps we thought when the fixtures came out.
Yeah, I mean, clubs will look at Southampton as one of the, especially at St Mary's as one of the toughest games of the season. But I think the earlier you get us in the season, probably the better it is for opposition teams, because we're not firing. Our forward line certainly isn't working at the moment, as we've discussed. So, but no, as Robin said, you might have played 2 poorish teams, but you still got to put them away. We'd be perfectly happy with, was it 3-1 and 3-0? You'd be perfectly happy with that.
6 goals in 2 games for us is a rarity as well. So it's like you can't not be delighted, even though
I don't know. You got 6 in one particular game. I remember last season against.
Yes. Yeah, and then we went on, and from there we went on a run of not winning for about 10 games from memory, but not long after that anyway. So yeah, I know you enjoyed that one.
I remember sitting and watching that one thinking, this is great. Stoke are my new favourite team. But anyway. I mean, I look at Stoke's team. There's a couple of names that stand out for me. Sorba Thomas, he played for us for Blackburn, caused us all sorts of problems a couple of years ago. I think it was. I always thought he was a decent player. And you've got Victor Johansson in goal, who's the who was in goal for Rotherham, and we'd have scored 15 against Rotherham across the 2 games if it wasn't for him. He was a goalkeeper that a lot of people were hoping we'd make a move for at various times over the last couple of years.
Aren't they?
Yeah, well, maybe. maybe.
I gotta say, Victor's been brilliant for us. I mean, it's probably not fair to say we could well have. Well, no, we obviously could have gone down anyway last season, but it could have been a lot more perilous without him in goal. The amount of points he saved, and even on the game yesterday at 2-0, you may well have seen it. Barry Bannon had an overhead kick from about 6 yards. He just flung himself to his right and tipped it round the post. That was at 2-0 with about half an hour to go. So you're thinking if that goes 2-1, and all of a sudden the pressure's against you. Whereas a couple of minutes later it's 3-0 and it's game over. Sorba Thomas as well fitted in pretty well. He's obviously scored last week and he assisted a couple of goals as well. He was in France last year. I'm not quite sure how maybe that came about. I think it was with Nantes, but he's fitted in really well. Looks really fit and hungry, and started off really well. So, which is really pleasing. Just to see a winger get the ball and run at his fullback is good for us. With the amount of times in recent times, cut back inside and whatever else. But
that's what I remember from him in that Blackburn game. He just basically got his head down and went the shortest route possible towards the goal, and caused chaos doing so. So no, he's a player, and obviously he's got a distinctive name. So you always hear it when his name pops up anywhere. So I saw him get on the score sheet last week, and he's one that we're certainly going to have to watch on Saturday. So tough game.
We've done all right. We've had some interesting games over the years, Steve, haven't we? But this it's pretty difficult to call. We've had some dreadful ones, and it's difficult to call how this one's going to go.
Generally, I think when we play them at home, not at the real sort of back end of the season, we generally do all right. When we play them at home in May, always stick us down to lose. No matter kind of how well or how badly we're playing. Last 2 years ago was obviously it was one of those games where you're in the middle of May and it's absolutely pissing with rain. And it's just
your season was pretty much over at that point, wasn't it? In the sense that you're definitely in the playoffs but couldn't get automatic. Whereas for us, it obviously meant the world. So
we were stuck in fourth. And obviously at the Leeds away game the following week, and then we were gearing up for the playoffs. But we were just dreadful in that game, and Stoke could easily. I mean, it wouldn't have been unjust if they won 3 or 4. But I mean, earlier in the season, we've tended to have the better of things. So I mean, it's one of those you just never quite know. I mean, you're playing against a side that look like they're very well organised, as you would expect from a Mark Robins team, and they've clearly got players that know where the back of the net is. Had 6 goals in 2 games, albeit with the caveat that you're playing Sheffield Wednesday, who have got a playing squad of about 12 people, and Derby, who have managed to ship 8 goals in their first 2. So it's how much weight you put in kind of either side of that balance. I guess depends on your sort of positivity or negativity, sort of every now and then. I mean, I know, Rob, you're always usually on the negative side of things, so
it's hard not to be at times.
Yeah, but it's one of those where I think ultimately we're going to be favourites, but this isn't a Stoke side that we should be taking lightly. As I say, they're clearly organised and they've got something going on already. Whereas we've started slowly, but we've got 4 points on the board, so we can't be too sort of despondent about how things have gone. We've played okay, I think, in these 2 games without really setting the world alight. But you do kind of wonder what would happen when we do kind of get things going. Don't know whether that'll be Saturday, whether that'll be next week or future weeks in sort of into the season. But at some point, something's going to click with us, and you would think someone will take a hiding. But I don't know when that's going to be.
It could be. I'm not saying it's going to be this weekend, but if you think about the teams we played, Alfie, obviously, the Wrexham and everything that goes with it, people were tipping them to have a pretty decent season. Ipswich as well. This could be a slightly different test that we're coming up against. Same for kind of the opposite of Stoke, really. They've had a couple of easier games on paper. Perhaps we've had a couple of tougher ones. So it's difficult to call.
Yeah, they had a couple of easier games on paper. Obviously, with Sheffield Wednesday are a basket case, and Derby will be in the lower reaches. But ultimately, they've scored goals. They've scored 6 goals in 2 games, and that's something that we we obviously can't claim to have done yet. So there's obviously something clicking. They've got a 35-year-old Aaron Cresswell, left back, which is obviously very interesting. I don't know what he's been like, Rob, maybe. But
it's been brilliant, to be fair. Like,
yeah.
it's, again, like fullback and especially left fullback's been an area of issue for us for as long as we've been alive, really. And I've just looked at him in the first 2 games and just thought like he could easily be in a lower reach Premier League side. I mean, obviously you could say that's what West Ham were, but like a potentially newly promoted side, his crossing ability and everything else has just been fantastic. Now, whether if there was a pacey winger, if you could perhaps get to run at him, how would he be then? Would that possibly
not got any of those, so that's not a problem.
Where it might be a bit different, but so far in the 2 games, he's just oozed quality. Like it's just makes such a massive difference.
Yeah, no, Glenn's already mentioned Sorba Thomas as well, who's a very direct player. Will get balls into the box and will test things. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to watching Divan Mubama play up front for Stoke. I mean, I think it's a really interesting first loan move for him. He's obviously on loan from Man City's striker, proper number 9, England 21 international. You might have seen him score in the FA Cup for Man City in that 8-0 win against Salford last year. But not only that, I mean, I've watched him score goals against Saints a couple of times now. He scored in the Premier League 2 playoff final for Man City a couple of months ago now. That was his 6th goal in 4 playoff matches for the 21s. He scored more than a goal a game all season as well. And he scored a hat-trick for West Ham in the FA Youth Cup semi-final against Saints about 3 years ago now as well. So he knows how to find the back of the net against Saints. And I'm intrigued to see how he does, because he is an interesting young English striker. And, we could always do a few more of those.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot. Oh, sorry, I didn't know a lot about him, to be fair, before we signed him. But yeah, he's put himself about in his first 2 games, and both goals he scored, he's taken very well. Obviously, he scored the winner against Derby in stoppage time, and it was a really good header back across goal. So it was obviously composure's pretty good to not get carried away that late in the game, or let concentration drop. And he probably could have scored a couple yesterday. Really, again, it was quite a brave header with the goalkeeper rushing it. Well, the goalkeeper had rushed out, the ball was crossed in, and it was him in the centre half challenging for it. But no, early signs from him very good. He looks a very encouraging player.
I think obviously, goals at 21s level don't always translate to senior football. When we look at Don Ballard, who scores 1 million goals every game for Saints, and it just hasn't made the step. But Divan's physical profile is exactly what you want from a senior striker. He's fairly tall, he's pretty quick, he's strong, he knows how to move it. But I mean, in those playoff games in the Premier League 2, it was 2 goals against Liverpool and a 2-1 win, 1 goal against Arsenal, 2 goals against Man United, and a goal against Saints in the final. So he was ready for that step. He was ready to step into men's football. But if he steps into a team that's going to be in the top end of the Championship straight away, then that's really promising for him.
What about us, Glenn? Just before we finish, just on how we're going to set up. Do you think we'll persevere with the back 5? Can you see a switch into a back 4? Does it depend if anybody comes in? More of the same, do you think? Because we have got a bit of momentum we're building.
It could be any of the above, to be honest. I think, we'll still, I don't know if you caught his interview after the game. I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said that up until the transfer window closes, we're making it up as we go along almost. Where we're seeing what we've got and who's available and who's left and who's arrived and all that sort of jazz. So I would imagine with the players that he knows are going to be here, I would imagine we'll set up in much the same way. I'd be surprised if he goes to a back 4 and plays with wingers, especially Ryan Fraser went off with a sort of muscle injury today, so we'll have to make as one of our genuine, probably our only sort of natural wing option, we've got to make sure that he's fit if we're gonna change formations and play with a load of width. So yeah, I wouldn't like to predict, but if I had to, I can't see it wouldn't be the Southampton way to get players in the door before the last 5 minutes of the transfer window. So I imagine we'll be dealing with the same set of players. Tyler Diblin might have moved, but I imagine it will be the same set of players, and we'll go with much the same formation. There might be a bit personnel change, Manning, Wellington, that sort of thing. Yeah. Kwasi might be left out for Wood. Might be a change up front if Stewart or Downs is fit, but I imagine it will be much the same.
Okay, can I ask you for a score prediction, Robin, before we let you go? Won't hold you to it. It's fine. But
always lean on the negative
another
side.
3 goals.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I feel like how we've started, we're good enough to get a goal. Whether or not that gets a result out of the game or not, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll perhaps a narrow defeat. I'll go 2-1 to Saints, I think. I'll lean on the negative side, but I'm pleased how we started, and if we did get a result, I wouldn't be too surprised. But it'll be interesting to see, given the step up in opposition, can we carry what we started into that, or will it be a game too far in this little stretch?
Yeah, could be a good game either way. Nice one, thanks, Robin. Really insightful.
No problem.
And we'll catch up with you later in the season if that's all right.
No problem at all.
Cheers for coming on. Let's do our predictions then, because I just don't know where to go with this. I think it's a really difficult one to call. Steve, I'll come to you first. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I went for a clean sheet against Wrexham in the home game, and obviously that turned out to be a mistake. So yeah, I suspect defensively we're still not quite there. I've seen from Ipswich's goal today. I think 4 players made errors in sort of along the way there in that short space of time, which is quite impressive in its own way. So I think, I think they're probably going to get one. Whether it's, I mean, as Rob said, I think it's a case of whether we're able to do enough at the other end. How deep are they going to sit defensively? I don't know whether they're whether it's the sort of group that's going to be right, sort of batten down the hatches. We're going to stick 11 men behind the ball and play for set pieces. I mean, given they've got 6 goals in 2 games, not sure that's really going to be the way they approach it. But I mean, if they do, then okay, we've got to come up with something that's a little bit more sustainable than what we did against Wrexham. In that scenario where they were camped on the edge of the area for 50 minutes or so. But I think if Stuart or Downs, Stuart would be my preference. I think if he's available and if he can start, then that just gives us that little presence up front. And then you're then reliant on the wing backs to actually put some service into him, because one of the things from today was our corners were absolutely god awful.
Oh, they're awful, weren't they?
Every single one of them barely got above chest height, and it's just like, how are we doing this? Who
was taken today?
So Wellington took some.
Fernandez, wasn't it?
Fernandez took a few. Was there any others? I can't remember. I think it's probably just those 2. But yeah, they were dreadful. Like every single one of them, I think. So yeah, a little bit more work on those at Staplewood this week, please, gents. And yeah, hopefully with our crossing ability restored, and a centre forward who can get on the end of them, we'll get a narrow 2-1 win.
Sounds simple, doesn't it? Alfie, the goals we've conceded have obviously been the penalty and then the own goal. So is this the weekend that we clamp down on the mistakes?
It doesn't feel like it, does it, after what we've just watched? Just there are too many questions at the moment about, Glenn pointed out, Taylor Harwood-Bellis, is he fully fit? Obviously not, because he hasn't had a pre-season. Joshua Kwashi, I personally would be very surprised if they take Joshua Kwashi out of the team. I obviously could well be wrong. I've been wrong millions of times before, but I'd be amazed if they don't stick with the same back 3. Like Will Still's always talked about wanting to build familiarity. I think it's quite clear that he was brought in actually to play games quite regularly. He has got all the attributes required to be a good player at this level, but again, he needs time. He hasn't got it right now. So I think he'll play again, but I think that leaves a few questions at the back. And if Ryan Fraser's not fit, that means Sugawara plays 80 plus minutes, and that could be a problem against Sorba Thomas. 4 of the last 5 games, you talk about playing against Stoke at home, Steve, they failed to score in 4 of the last 5 home games against Stoke. They've lost 3 of them 1-0. 1-0 draw, and obviously the 3-2 in the cup last year, which was as bad as losing, honestly, at the time. So yeah, I'll go for a 1-1 draw on this one. I think it'll be a frustrating afternoon for Saints.
Glenn, your prediction?
Well, I'm 100% in predictions this year. I've predicted a 2-1 win and a 1-1 draw, but in the wrong games.
Oh
no, in the wrong games. So
I was like, how did I miss this?
Yeah. So now I've got 0 points, and I'm down the bottom of the prediction league. So no, I largely agree with what Steve said. I think we will prove to be better than them. I think particularly at home, our midfield should be able to dominate, especially as Robin was saying, their midfield is probably their weakest area. So I feel like we should pretty much be able to be on the ball a vast majority of the time. And, you know, assuming this illness bug has got out of the way and we've got all our options available to bring on, I can see us winning this game. But I don't think it's going to be easy, and I do think we will concede again. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, so it won't be that.
A 2-1 win. Right, 136 people entered in total our predictions league last week. 37 got the correct score. 18 of them have got both scores spot on so far this season. So if you are playing along, all you need is your Patreon login, and then you can join the little predictions league that we've got going on there. You'll find the leaderboard and how you can play on the website. Just head over to totalsaints.co.uk.